Mars. How much does it mean to us? A halo of beguiling mystery has been created around the planet, named after the ancient Roman god of war. Its red wasteland inspires writers to write books, and the valleys of endless sands not infrequently become the backdrop to sci-fi movies. Earthlings dreaming of distant planets look to it with the hope of building a new home there, creating a backup cradle for humanity. But what does the fourth planet of the solar system actually hold? Today we're going to take a closer look at it. Of all the neighbors surrounding our planet, Mars is the most suitable in terms of climatic conditions for humans. It is one of the smallest planets in the solar system. Its diameter is about half of Earth's, and the mass of the planet is 10 times less than our home. Mars on average is removed from the Sun at a distance of 228 million kilometers. So 1 year lasts 687 Earth days, and the local day is 24 hours 39 minutes. On the planet as well as on our home planet, all 4 seasons are presented, but the duration of seasons is almost twice longer. Mars is the most well-studied neighboring planet. After collecting all the necessary data and waiting for the moment of the closest convergence of the planets as they move along their orbits, we set off. The distance from Earth to it is comparatively small by cosmic standards, 55.5 million km. We need to take a large amount of provisions with us, since the duration of the flight for us will be 9 months only one way. Approaching Mars, we see a fascinating red disk riddled with basalt furrows. There are 2 small satellites orbiting around the planet. Deimos and Phobos are more like big asteroids, caught in a gravity trap. Their names are translated from Greek as fear and terror, and named after the sons of the Roman gods, and they are almost the smallest satellites in our system. Gracefully rotating, they are gradually approaching the planet itself and, according to scientists, in 50 million years Phobos may crash into the surface, or else the approach will be torn by the gravitational force coming from it, forming a ring around the planet with its fragments. Orbiting the planet, we find that it has a rare atmosphere, made up of 95% carbon dioxide. Its density is only 1% of Earth's. During the winter, it freezes and falls out of the clouds, settling in white caps of dry ice at the poles of the planet. In addition to the north and south, water has also been found in the depths of the Martian soil. Once upon a time in the distant past, Mars had large bodies of water and a full-fledged atmosphere, and the average temperature was about plus 18 degrees Celsius. But comfortable conditions for the development of Martian life interrupted because of the large-scale accident that happened here. According to scientists, the planet collided with another space object of gigantic proportions. After the colossal impact, the core, hidden in the interior, slowed its rotation and began to cool, weakening the planet's magnetic field, thereby allowing the solar wind to push the uncontained atmosphere into open space. Then, draining the ancient river deltas, the water also left the home planet. Without any obstacles, we enter the space of the planet and land on its territory. Because of the low pressure on the surface, which is almost 160 times lower than on Earth, man cannot survive, because the oxygen in his blood is literally turned into bubbles. Therefore, to move on the sands of the red planet, a specially designed suit for these conditions will be needed. In addition, due to the lack of an ozone layer, the solar radiation coming from the star is quite dangerous. Once outside, a distant horizon opens before us, on the back of which we can see a large-scale sandstorm. It can last here for months, covering vast areas. We are surrounded by a reddish-brown color that is produced by the large amount of iron oxide found in the local soil. We jump up more than a meter, as Martian gravity is almost 3 times less than Earth gravity. Around us, we see a multitude of sandy valleys dotted with basalt rocks. Above them are mountains, and the nozzles of extinct volcanoes, among which stands out a colossal Olympus. This volcano rises to a height of 26 kilometers from its foot, and is the highest in the solar system. Its diameter is 540 kilometers, and the slopes rise as steep walls of 7 kilometers upwards. The average temperature of the red planet is about 70 degrees Celsius. But given the small amount of water vapor and air molecules, it feels like 34 degrees to humans. On Mars, it is almost always cold, but in the summer season at the equator the temperature still rises above 0 degrees. Maximum temperature recorded on the surface was 35 degrees, but unfortunately we cannot get a tan. Behind us stretches the largest canyon system in the solar system, called the Mariner Valleys in honor of the spacecraft series. Stretching 4,500 kilometers in length, it is 10 times deeper than a large canyon on Earth. In the yellow-orange sky towering above it is a solar disk, about a third smaller than what we see on Earth. Rare clouds overlaying it hover 50-60 kilometers above the surface. Right before our eyes, a whirlwind is swirling in their background, a real tornado, 10 times higher, and 50 times wider than its counterparts on Earth in the local environment. But we don't have to worry about it, as it is not very dangerous, because of the rarefied atmosphere. The sound we hear on the surface is very muffled, its propagation complicated by the small number of particles in the atmosphere. As we wait for the end of the Martian day, we will see the sunset sky over the red planet turn blue, contrasting with the barren wasteland around us. If we decide to drive along the equator at an average speed of 100 km/h, it takes less than 2 weeks to go around the entire planet in a circle. Along the way, we'll cross the northern polar basin, which covers about half of Mars' surface area, and it is believed to be a huge impact mark from the planet's collision with another celestial body. It is estimated to be about the size of Pluto. The area is one of the largest impact craters in our system. Deep beneath the surface where we're moving, a once living liquid core with a radius of 1,830 kilometers is cooling. It's made mostly of iron, and has an admixture of sulfur. It occupies about half the volume of the planet. The mantle enveloping it is 700-800 kilometers thick, and the crust hovering it wraps around them for an average of 50 kilometers. Mars is the best studied planet after Earth. During all the time of space expeditions, a large number of scientific programs have been sent to study it, and although many of them were not successful, mankind has still managed to land the necessary vehicles on its surface. Red sands of the planet rovers roam NASA. They study the environment and provide a lot of information to Earth. The most famous rover, Curiosity, arrived on the surface in 2012, recently joined by 2 more. In February 2021, the NASA developed Perseverance landed on the planet, and a little later in May of that year, the Chinese Huzheng began its work as well. The rovers are equipped with ground-penetrating radar and weather complexes to fully explore the red planet. Their photos of Martian panoramas mesmerize with desert landscapes stretching over the entire horizon. Having traveled the sands to our satisfaction, we return to the ship and enter orbit. From here we will consider the possibilities for the future colonization of our neighbor. Despite the fact that the conditions of the local environment are not favorable for human life, they are still the easiest to master among all the inhabitants of the solar system, making Mars a prime candidate for this task. The level of modern technology in theory allows to arrange here a full-fledged dwelling. The basis of Martian cities could be the Martian regolith, which would protect the settlers from solar radiation. Such structures would be built by a 3D printer specially designed for the task. But among scientists there is an opinion about the possible realization of a simpler version. The first inhabitants of Mars, like primitive humans, could take refuge in its caves. They are large round holes in the surface, and could not only protect people from solar radiation, but would also help keep out the valuable temperature and air. But first and foremost, the idea of possibly terraforming the planet has seized the minds of scientists, populating it with microorganisms brought from Earth. Experiments have shown that the Earth's blue-green algae can survive on the red planet, collecting moisture from the Martian soil and multiplying in the depths of the canyons of the Mariner Valley. It is assumed that these cyanobacteria will form the basis for a future life support system for humans. But because of their slow reproduction caused by external conditions, for the formation of a full-fledged habitat will require more than 1,000 years. Because of this, humanity is developing other possible scenarios for greening Mars. In particular, it is proposed first to increase the pressure and make the temperature more suitable. It is possible to achieve this by pushing a giant asteroid containing ice to the planet. This event would provoke a large release of the necessary amount of energy and gas, which would increase the pressure on the surface. Another theory proposes to send special stations to the poles, through which mankind would be able to melt the polar caps of dry ice. Elon Musk advocates the use of nuclear bombs for this purpose, but the scientific community rejects this theory, as the increased radiation background caused by explosions will make the environmental conditions on the red planet unfit for life. There are more fantastic versions, such as using orbiting mirrors that are proposed to be placed around the planet so that they redirect sunlight to the surface, thus increasing the temperature on the surface. But at present, none of these proposals is feasible in practice due to their high cost and insufficient level of technology. And yet, despite all these difficulties, our red neighbor does not leave the minds of people, remaining the main goal for future colonization. And whether the dreams of enthusiasts will come true, only time will show. Who knows, perhaps sometime in the future your descendants will walk the Martian sands and watch the blue sunsets on the horizon. Thank you for studying the structure of our universe with me.